Hey everybody, welcome in. Appreciate y'all being here. I guess good midday or afternoon, depending on where you are.
Hey guys, how you
Hey
doing?
Ryan.
Thanks so
Ryan,
much.
are you the Ryan from the emails, Ryan?
That's me. I'm that guy.
Hey,
Right
I
on.
appreciate your work via email.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for the last minute, jumping in and yeah, being part of the cause.
Absolutely. We appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Did Derek get you guys all set up?
Yeah, we're co-hosted. We can let people into the room and all that. So far people want to be here, which is always cool.
Love it. Cool. Well, I'll let you guys get started when you're ready. Just wanted to say hey.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll probably giving people another minute or two. I think this is lunch for this. It's like end of day, like post day for us out here. But
Yep. End of the long block. So all right.
cool. All right. Cool. Erica, Eric, Laura, and Katie. Just just out of curiosity, sorry, it was a loud thud. My son's playing upstairs with my daughter, and I think they just jumped off that tower again, Jeff. But if you're here, I know you may have stepped away to let people as you're waiting for the student to start. But if you want to let us know maybe what your position is and what time zone you're in. Jeff and I are both East Coast, but curious where everybody is because I saw a lot of this conference is people um, in the central and western parts of the country. Or if you want to come off mute, if you guys don't want to come off mute and talk to you, you're more than welcome to do that. Jeff and I are both very informal. But we'll give people 2 more minutes and then we'll kind of jump into it. Hi, Erica.
Hi, how are you? I'm in California, so it's 1 o'clock here.
Right on. Very cool.
Nice.
4 o'clock here. But
Okay.
what's your position?
I'm Director of Ed Services and ELOP in a little district in Nuevo, California. Actually, the same district that Derek, oh, there's Derek. There he is.
Oh.
That Derek's in.
Cool. Right on. Very cool. Laura, where are you from?
I'm in Wyoming, so it's 2 o'clock here,
Cool.
and I'm going to tell you my title and then tell you it means nothing. I'm the
Cool.
secondary disciplinary literacy facilitator, and I'm currently the lead on our AI task force and doing a lot of other technology related things that really have nothing to do with disciplinary literacy.
Right on.
Okay.
That's
awesome.
That's awesome. And is it your birthday or is that?
Oh, it is. Yes, it is. In fact, my 50th.
Hey,
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
What a
Thank
way
you.
to spend your birthday
Yes.
with us talking
I know.
AI. Like,
That's
amazing.
Perfect.
yeah. That's what you wanted. You're like, what could I do today? I wonder if there's
can
two
I
people
do?
from Delaware that want to talk a little bit about PD and state policy.
This
That's a
is our
ripping time.
room. This is our room. I can feel
Yeah.
it. You know, if you're choosing
Good.
this on your birthday,
That's right.
This is it.
Yep.
Yeah. Eric or Katie, if you're around, feel free to chime in at any time. Appreciate y'all being here. Oh, Katie's here. And Eric too.
Hi.
Look at that. What's up?
Hi, I won't start my video because I'm actually driving because it's 4 p.m. where I'm at. So I left school, but hello. And I'm in Indiana, instructional tech director.
Nice.
Right on.
And hey guys, Eric Kurtz from Ohio, so Eastern time as well. I'm a technology integration specialist, tech coach, trainer type person. And actually, I'll be presenting at the end of the day here.
Right on.
But excited to kind of hide in the background here and listen to the awesome stuff you guys are going to be sharing in this session.
Hey, we appreciate you being here, man. And then we got Maria just joined in. Welcome, Maria. We'll go ahead and jump in and we'll kind of give a little intro and we'll share some stuff. We're going to the path we're going to talk a little about today is kind of how Jeff and I will kind of take a turn talking about where the AI for PD series that we both run kind of came from. And by we both, I mean independently of each other. Jeff and I don't work in the same district. We are peers in the state of Delaware. And then how that work through some of our joint connections, went to forming an AI committee at the state level and some of the work we're doing kind of for the state. So like kind of talking very hyper specific local, and then how we've spread that work out. So real quick, my name is Kevin Wright. I'm instructional media coordinator, which much like Laura, you mentioned titles, like what do they mean? That sort of means that like I got hired to handle instructional technology and then wouldn't stop interjecting into the grading and assessment category. So they finally said, if you want to talk about it, you can run it. So I am instructional technology, grading and assessment for a school district of about 13,000 kids in Middletown, Delaware, which is dead smack in the center of the state. And I'm doing work on those kind of three fronts right now. And obviously AI is a part of that because of the drastic impacts it's having on things like grading, assessment, policy, and things like that. And then my buddy Jeff is here today.
Hey. Yeah. So thanks for the intro, Kevin. I am Jeff Kilner. I am an instructional technology specialist. So exact same title as Eric. The district I serve is the Indian River School District. We're located in the southern end of the state. So we're kind of like just north of Ocean City, Maryland, near the beaches. So it's a really diverse and rapidly growing district of 11,000-ish students, about 1,000 staff. In my role, it's really like coaching, support, integrations, you name it. Some of the things that are like passion projects of mine revolve around equity and ensuring equitable access. At the state level, we're doing a lot to ensure high quality internet connection to all of our students. And one of the task forces that that I'm on with Kevin is the AI instructional task force to ensure equitable access to AI and ensure that access is safe and appropriate. So,
yeah, awesome. So we'll kind of jump in. So Jeff and I are going to kind of run two separate slide decks for a little bit, where I'm going to kind of talk a little about what we're doing in Appoquinimink, which is my school district, APPO for short, APPO. Please feel free to ask questions. We're all in kind of more of different roles here. So if you have questions about what we're doing, please interject. I'm going to talk a little bit how the conversation got going. If any of your districts aren't doing PD yet, I'll kind of give you a very brief intro on how we got the conversation started to do it. If you're already, a couple people mentioned like AI task force and things like that, you're crushing it if you're at that point, which is amazing. No, you might be, who knows? And if you are, just unmute and take the session from us and start going. So we will we'll kind of talk a little bit about those, and then we'll jump ahead and we'll kind of knock some stuff out, and we'll have time at the end for conversation as well. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to launch a slide deck here, and then I will go ahead and get talking a little bit about what we're doing in APPO. All right. Sorry, I'm not on my usual setup today. It was a weird day for us. Okay, cool. All right. Everybody see my Canva? Everything looking all right? Awesome. Cool. All right. So again, a couple things, if you're, other things that I do as well, if any of you have dealing with this, Jeff mentioned explosive growth. His district and my district are both growing like crazy. I got hired 6 years ago. We have added 3,900 students in those 6 years. We build schools every year. We just asked the community to vote for a tax referendum to build 3 more schools. So I'm coming up on 8 schools that I've been a part of building. We are, Jeff kind of mentioned rural. We are suburbia, like nightmare. Like every farm possible for sale around us has developments going in. So we grow on average about 1,000 students a year, but we'll get over 300 to 400 students. Some years, 500 students that will join us during the school year. So when we're already in flight, we'll have that many kids join us. All right. So where did AI start with us? Like a lot of people, AI was kind of something I saw on social media last November. It was one of those things I saw people posting kind of funny stories and things they were using with ChatGPT when it first came out. the very first thing that I kind of started talking to with people was basically going to my team and talking with them and being like, hey, there's something here. This AI social media trend is something that I think is going to be a bigger deal than what people are realizing right now. My team kind of agreed. They were a little hesitant because we've seen fads, we've seen trends come on before in ed tech. I've been in ed tech specifically for 6 years, but teaching for 10 before that. Kind of floated that conversation further out to some peers like Jeff, who we meet in a group called the Digital Learning Cadre in the state. We meet once a month, and kind of floated out there. I was like, is anyone else hearing things about this or anyone else doing anything with this? And Jeff was one of the only other districts who was like, yeah, we're looking at this. We're having these conversations. I then texted my superintendent, my super sweet, the assistant superintendent and district superintendent. I was like, hey, I've got Pandora's box for you if you want to have a conversation. And they're like, what do you mean Pandora's box? And I was like, well, let's meet and talk. So I introduced this idea of artificial intelligence to them, particularly ChatGPT and some of the large language models that we were starting to see become more and more popular. And I asked them, I was like, look, like Pandora's, like AI's Pandora's box, like it's sort of closed right now, but it's going to be a thing here very soon that we're going to have to deal with and we're going to have to open and address. And fortunately, I got approval from them. They were like, look, if you think teachers should know about this, go find out if teachers should know about this. Like, go take this out and go talk to people. So I met one-on-one with a bunch of my staff and a bunch of my teachers. And I was basically asking them, like, what are pain points you're having right now? What are things that you are doing that are taking up a lot of time that aren't necessarily teaching? And I always like to ask my staff and I ask my teachers I support for things like pain points or efficiencies rather than like taking them a tool. I always kind of ask, like, is there things we can help with? And a lot of my high school teachers kind of have this continuous process. And if any of you all are high school teachers or have been high school teachers, we're kind of coming out of the window now. But, you know, it's a big ask on our high school teachers in November and December and January in particular. Siri's trying to answer on my phone. But for a lot of the teachers, it's writing letters of recommendation. And if you're a core teacher or an AP teacher, you might have to write dozens of these things for kids you care very deeply about. So a lot of our teachers, I was showing them, I was like, look, like there's tools here that might be able to write a framework for you. That might be able to support you with some of these ideas. And so we kind of started plugging away and looking at lessons like that and finding time. And I'm realizing the teachers are looking for tools. Also, as I'm having these conversations, they're starting to report back students talking about AI because they start to see it in social media. And then I moved to the curriculum office where with them, I was more addressing the conversation with the curriculum office about, hey, you're going to start hearing about kids cheating with this because that's starting to come to light. This was like February of last year. You're going to start to have people approach you and vendors in particular about curriculum infused options. Like you're going to have vendor AI tools. You're going to have tools to detect AI, things like that, that our vendors are going to start bringing to the table. So it's one of these moments for us where we need to decide what our stance is going to be and where we are with this. So fortunately, my curriculum team was very receptive. We started to have a conversation at that point. I basically put it out there that I'm going to run a PD series and I'm going to talk to my educators about this. I'm going to talk to teachers and I'm going to make sure that they at least know something about AI. So talking with teachers, talking with my team, talking with peers, we kind of came up with an idea for our PD series. And a lot of you may be running PD already, but these are the things that we decided we cared about for artificial intelligence and professional development. Perception. I want my teachers and I want my people that I work with, and I should say by my teachers, my wife is a teacher in my district. My kids both go to schools in the district. Like this is a very close personal thing for me right now. But perception, I want teachers to understand exactly what AI is and it isn't. They want them to know that when people talk about generative AI, what do they mean? When they're talking about LLM, what do they mean? When our vendors are emailing them saying, give us money for AI, what does that mean? And the second is application. How are we going to use it and not use it? And that's a very important part to me. And the third part is this, ironically, I don't really want to get super technical with my staff. And you think about it, and like Jeff and I have talked about this idea where like, I know how to drive my car, but I can't build it and take it apart. There's this concept of knowledge that I want people to have to be able to use this. And the very first PD series that I ran, is this AI for educators. And I'll link that or give you all access to it if you're looking to kind of do an intro PD to people. I'll put it in the chat once I get done here. Where I basically just had people using chat GPT. And I kind of came up with this policy that when I'm training people, so this is a PD on PD, right? Like this is our series, and we're going to get into some of the state work and policy work that we're getting into. But when I'm training people on AI, if this was an AI for educator session, we would all be in chat GPT or in an AI platform right now, because I'm a huge believer in hands-on experience, having teachers use AI in a supportive environment, using it in a place where they can feel safe, as well as kind of giving permission to play with something. But really the goal is, you gave time to me to be in this PD, you should be able to find time returned to you during this process. So all of the goal there is finding useful things for teachers to do during my PD with it to earn their time back. I do offer teachers too. I'm like, if you got nothing out of this session and you feel like AI is not going to save you 15 minutes the next week, I'll come cover your class for 15 minutes. So I will go sub in for teachers to give them a break too, if it's something where they need more time to wrestle with it, or I'll go teach with them to kind of make up time as well. Two themes that I live with about AI, because I'm a big believer in like, why should someone use AI? And the first thing I tell teachers are, there is no more writer's block. And by that, I mean, you don't have to sit here and run your head against the wall if you're having a creative block, if you're not sure how to explain something to a student, if you're looking for a letter of rec when you've got to write the 15th on a Friday and you want to say something different. There is no more writer's block with this. There is things that we can do with ChatGPT by going in and asking, write a letter of recommendation for this student, rephrase this letter I've written for this student. These kind of things, we can take away that sense of writer's block. So no more writer's block is a big part of this for me. The second theme when I run PD for teachers, and I want them to walk away with, is the idea that alteration is easier than creation. So if you got to come up with 7 examples for 7 different stations for students to do in your AP psychology class, you can go in and ask for prompts. Say, give me 7 free response question style AP style prompts for students in the high school AP psychology class. And even if 3 of them are garbage, if you're just fixing 4, you're saving so much time. You're not sitting there and running yourself against the wall trying to come up with the 5th unique idea for the day. And that right there is a massive time savings that gives people a lot of benefit. We've all probably heard this. I'm sure you've been in sessions where it's been addressed, because there are some fabulous presenters here. Plug to Eric, who's presenting later today. There are people here that are going to talk a lot about this too, but like, where does AI affect your job? I have teachers routinely asking me, like, is AI going to take my job? Is AI something I should be worried about? And I usually tell them, no, I don't think that classroom teachers are going to be replaced by artificial intelligence. But if it comes down to head between you and somebody else, and that other person knows how to use AI efficiently, or knows how to use AI to save time or improve, they might beat you out for a spot, because it is a tool that's going to be around, and it's going to be something that is impactful for a long time in our career. Any questions any questions at this point? Jeff, I can't see the chat, so you all can put questions in the chat if you want to. I'll make that slide deck available that I run with teachers for the first time too as well. Everybody doing okay?
No, we're all clear in the chat, man. All good.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Yeah. So how did we kind of go about pushing AI into our professional development? As far as policy making, which we're going to talk about more about later, there are things that we have in Delaware, like state terms and conditions and policies that we do keep in mind when we work with vendors. As of right now, there's no AI system that we allow our students to sign into, because we still don't have terms and conditions from our vendors yet that make us comfortable when it comes to generative AI. There are AI that are public facing, that we do let our students use. And we are trying to work right now with a couple different vendors like Adobe to get our terms and conditions approved and signed by them, so they could have access to things like Adobe Firefly and some of these generative tools in particular, because we do want our students learning how to use these tools appropriately, because right now our teachers can use them. We have approvals for our teachers to be in a couple of groups, but not our students yet. Our PD, we run conference style professional development in Appoquinimink. This is our first year doing that. So far, we have had, actually today was the fourth of this third PD. So this fourth PD series day was today. But in our launch week, we had our PLC push-in, which is basically talking about our PLC and our professional learning standards and our commitments. And then during the November 17th and January 26th PDs, our themes have been feedback, reflection, and holistic. But each of those weeks, we had someone running PD on artificial intelligence. I've run PD on artificial intelligence for people after school in PLC, and then I push into classrooms and I'll work with people on just instructional technology. But during the 17th, 26th, and the March PD, we had staff running those sessions for us. So we had teachers who are using AI to support their learning or support their professional development or needs. They actually ran the sessions during those days. They were super popular. A lot of you in leadership roles know that a lot of times when messages come from leadership, it's taken one way, but when it comes from a peer or comes from a teacher, it's taken another. So we had a couple ELA teachers on the 17th running a session about how they've been using AI for some creative writing tasks. And then in the January one, we had an ELA teacher and a math teacher pair up to talk about how they're using artificial intelligence as well for reflective practice. So that was kind of where we're rolling to right now. We do have an academic honesty statement that gets questioned a lot. Like, our policy basically says if you use AI to represent yourself without citing it, then you're cheating, which is just sort of kind of, we left it broad stroke because we didn't want to write a policy that denies students, but we're still not at a point where we're formally signing into AI yet either. So we had to write a policy that sort of lives in the middle, which is basically like, you're not ChatGPT. Please don't cite, please don't pretend that it's your own word. Cool. I'm going to pass it over to Jeff if there's no questions, and he can talk a little about what he's doing at Indian River. So again, we're running regular PD sessions. We're focusing in on that idea of alteration over creation and the idea of no more writer's block. And again, we'll kind of jump in. I do see there's one thing in the chat. I'll go ahead and drop a link in there in just a second. Oh, thanks, Derek. I appreciate that, man.
Awesome.
But that
Thank
really,
you.
yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. So are we good with my slides? We good?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Well, let's get right into it. So similarly to how Appo runs their professional learning, in our district, we do a lot of conference style district wide. We actually have our next one coming up Wednesday of next week on March 6th. And it's interesting. Like, I was looking back at emails when I put this first slide up, and I got an email from a teacher. I just got back from ISTE and had presented and was like super stoked and like sat in on the keynote, and everything was AI. And it was front of mind for me. I'd been exposed back in November with the launch of GPT, like our math specialist, who's like, actually Kevin knows from college, small Delaware world. And he runs into my office and he's like, dude, you've got to see this. And we just went trying to break it. And so like, that was like November of last year. And we're like, oh man, just kind of like anticipating what's coming. And then I go to ISTE, and then I get this email like the day, like the week after I get back, from one of our IB English teachers who goes, what are we going to do about this dreaded AI? And to me, that was like, that subject line just like haunted me. I'm like, man, I don't know either. So what I did, I know teachers are going to use it because I experienced the power of it firsthand. I knew our kids are going to use it. And in listening to everything at ISTE and being connected through their community leaders program, and like, I kind of like was like, I need a resource. And lo and behold, in May of last year, this document was released by the U.S. Department of Ed Tech, or U.S. Department of Ed's Office of Ed Tech. And it's a comprehensive guide for like really how districts and states can and should start thinking about artificial intelligence. And the three like biggest takeaways for me, like I jumped immediately to like, okay, this is going to be a systems level thing. Like, people are going to run off, they're going to find cool tools. That's what they do. In my role, in the 5-ish years I've been doing this, there's a million amazing ed tech tools. And like, my position is that of ensuring like kind of QA/QC is like making sure that like what the district is supporting and putting resources behind is safe, is accessible to all kids, and like isn't a redundancy, right? Like, so in thinking about AI, these additional considerations are massive, and they've been a massive benefit to the work that I'm doing in our district. So one of the things that really hit me at first when I started asking building administrators and like district leadership, like, you know, what are your thoughts on AI? And they're like, oh, we don't use it. We don't use it. And then I start thinking about some of the platforms within our district, and it might not be generative AI, but there are definitely some components of artificial intelligence and algorithms that drive a lot of the like approved platforms that help make decisions about student progress in our district. So like in thinking about AI, and looking at the recommendations from the report that I had cited, and it's linked in my slides, I'll share my slides as well. These are kind of like the top, these are the 3 prioritized recommendations that like I took away from reading that report. So that is to align any AI models in use in our district, whether they're generative or whether they're like, you know, machine learning algorithm within a tech tool or platform that we currently use, align the models to a shared vision for education. The next one is to inform and involve educators. And then lastly, develop guidelines and guardrails so that as teachers continue to use these to increase their workflow and their productivity, that like we're still maintaining compliance with SIPA because we don't want to lose E-rate funding. We want to like FERPA. We don't want a FERPA violation. So like all of those like guidelines and guardrails are kind of like where we're at now. So let me start off and just go with number 2 first. To align AI use in our district to a shared vision for education. Again, like there are wheels and there's no need to reinvent them. So I just took our most recent version of our strategic plan from our district, and I kind of looked at that, did a first pass and said, okay, here are some really strong connections between these 4 pillars for like the use of generative AI models, right? So I took that snapshot and I took it to our district leadership cabinet, which is our assistant super, and our curriculum and instruction directors. Not like all of them had heard of ChatGPT, and it's just one of those things where the user interface is so incredibly easy to use and intuitive. When you demo it, just that first like doors blown off, hair back, it's like, oh my gosh, they were kind of flabbergasted, and they all kind of saw what we know is that this is going to be a sea change event in education. So once I got approval from cabinet, our leadership cabinet, to like, okay, we need to start teaching people about this, then I had to get board approval. So I presented to our district's curriculum committee, got approval on that front. And then that led to like informing and involving our educators. So the first 3 points here, these are all links to webinars. In thinking about how to scale this, we have, as I had said, we have our like district level PD days, but we only get 2 of those a year, one in the fall, one in the spring. Our teachers union like really bristles at organized professional learning. It's a battle we have to fight. So in order to make it as open and accessible as possible to inform our staff about this, I thought, you know what, YouTube is going to be the best way to do that. So on our district's instructional tech channel, I basically host a webinar series roughly once a month and a half, and they're centered on specific themes. So the first 3 themes, they're done. I actually, the keynote, Lucy Kirchhoff, she was on my last one this past Monday on Pause Before You Prompt, Gen AI and Data Privacy. So like the scope and sequence here is like episode 1, what is artificial intelligence and why now? It's to get more people to understand the transformative nature of these products. The second, promise and pitfalls to guidelines and guardrails. I had a woman, Dr. Helen Crompton from Old Dominion University. She actually wrote a course for ISTE on like artificial intelligence. And she came in and just kind of gave a a very high level overview of how these platforms work. And then Lucy then kind of did a deeper dive into like student data privacy and like how and why we need to be reticent to enter certain things into these large language models. So that's kind of the inform area. When it comes to involve, I have 2 webinars that I'm still kind of currently drafting how they're going to run in my head, but they're going to include professional learning. And that's what my professional learning session this coming Wednesday is going to be. So, and again, I want to cite and credit where credit's due, because A, it's the ethical and legal thing to do, but all of that work is being heavily influenced by the resources from Teach AI, which, if, again, you're looking to implement and do these things in your district, don't recreate these wheels. Like, look for some wheels that are round and that have tires. And then if you need to top them off and like, you know, do something like shine them up, do that. But like, this work is so critically important and so urgent that like it's necessary now. So like, that 4th bullet point, the academic integrity and artificial intelligence, how that looks in our district is when our curriculum directors met with me and we started talking about like AI and its potential impacts, front of mind from the classroom teacher's perspective is kids and cheating, right? In a previous session I had done with staff in October on AI, I had like 53 teachers from across our district come in, and they learned how to use it from a teacher's perspective. They're all worried about the kids' perspective. So like, again, we need to inform and educate our kids in best practice, but all of that's going to be driven by district policy. So our directors went and revised a district like academic integrity policy. And one aspect of that, it's, as Kevin said with APOS, it's not explicit that it says Gen AI. It just says that like, you cannot misrepresent yourself, right? And so basically my session on the 6th is going to, I'm going to go through the first few slides of it, and it's going to end with like a collaborative brainstorm. And I guess this would be like a task force. It would be like, here are some guidelines and guardrails for teachers, and then guidelines and guardrails for students. So from a resource that was generated by Teach AI, which I kind of like sanded and polished, like stage 1 where we are in our district is, again, looking at policy that addresses immediate risks that doesn't undermine learning during the coming year. And in this case, the coming year is the 24-25, like this coming one. So this session on Wednesday that I'm running with our teachers, they're going to be looking at draft policy updates and then creating some guidelines around those to kind of help us ensure that AI use complies with existing security and privacy policies, et cetera. Stage 2 is organizational learning by making a small but strategic investment. And that's, to us, is paying some guest speakers to come in. You know, hey, I need, like, I literally just shot a bunch of shots via Twitter and just said, hey, can you come in? Like, what does it cost? What's your rate? And again, with that small strategic investment, they don't have Jeff telling them about like how AI works. They have an actual academic whose specialty is how AI works, and that means something. Same with getting Lucy in for like student data privacy. You know, it's one thing to hear your tech guy say pause before you prompt and don't go rogue, but it's, you know, someone who's a subject matter expert who has literally written a book on data privacy, that carries a little bit more weight. The other thing is looking at how we can continue this work forward, and that's stage 3. So moving into kind of like, that's the suggestions from Teach AI, where we are in a district, like as a district, we're mandated to teach digital citizenship. So like part of that aspect is going to be part of what we teach our kids and things like that. So like, we're kind of, our guidance that we're giving teachers is going to be driven a lot by that. as well as maintaining E-rate compliance. And then last two here is the clarifying responsible and prohibited uses of AI tools and defining academic integrity. That's going to be the main heart of my session on this coming Wednesday, is like, we're going to develop those guidelines collaboratively with input from teachers, and then look at like how that connects to the draft policy of academic integrity. So when it comes to organizational learning, I spoke to that already, getting subject matter experts on, making it as open and accessible as possible. When it comes to looking at individual educators' experiences with AI, that's a collaboration Kevin and I are doing, and as well as at the state level on our AI guidance subcommittee, which we'll speak to in a minute or two. And really looking at, as we move forward, there are just certain foundational pieces that need to be put in place. And our work, like the gist of my slides presentation here, is that in our world of instructional tech specialists, we've got to make sure that we are providing a safe and solid foundation so that when these new updates come, I mean, I was looking at some descriptions today and like, it's still saying barred, right? Like all of this is changing so fast that like these models are changing, integrations are changing. What we need to do in our role is we provide the guardrails. Those are the you will not, you shall not, you cannot, based on law. Like we got to keep our teachers safe. We got to keep our kids safe when we use these tools. When it comes to the road sign, which is the guidelines, that's going to be more flexible and malleable, right? Like that's going to be a case-by-case basis. That's going to be, yes, you can use it in this context. No, you cannot in this context. And that's where we need to have, again, a baseline foundation of understanding of privacy and security for our teachers, as well as understanding of district level policy, as well as, SIPA, COPA, FERPA, right? Like all of those things. So that's essentially where we are. And I think that's really our workflow in a nutshell. Like, whereas Kevin, it sounded like and felt like there was a lot more in APO, theirs is a lot more like an empowered, hey, like, here's some use cases. Like we're doing a little bit more of an adjacent, like, let's get our house and foundation square and stable, and then do that. So like we kind of noticed, hey, you're building the house. Well, you're setting a foundation. Let's work together. And that kind of leads us to the state work that we're doing.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point, because with a lot of this, I think the key message with some of this, especially with AI and education, is like you got to start. Like you got to pick a lane and you got to pick a vehicle that you're comfortable in. Jeff's series with the YouTube series and the experts he's brought in are fascinating, but it's one of those moments where for us, we had no resources. It was one of those moments where it was just like the super sweet when we said, like, we need to talk about, they're like, get out in front of people and talk, like get out in front and have people using this and bring things back to us. Delaware's small. We're in a couple of different situations here. My district, again, we try to build a lot of schools. We have this rapid growth going on. We recently had a tax referendum fail, which means that our funding is, as of right now, is going to decrease unless we get this second chance. So our approach has kind of been in that freemium where it's like Kevin and my counterpart, Jesse, who's fabulous, exist. We're running around training people internally as best we can. And we are trying, and we kind of, and to Jeff's point, like, do you want to hear from experts? Do you want to hear from other teachers? Like, where are you? Where's your district pulse? Because both voices are desperately needed. And that's where he and I working together on these things have kind of led to this blended approach. And some of the work we're doing at the state, which we can talk about here in a second, which is more policy driven. And honestly, that work is more about getting ahead of it before the policies are made to make sure that experts are in the room. And we're not saying we are experts. We're just trying to say that we're trying to get to the point where before things are done that are irreversible or difficult to reverse, that we have a voice at the table. Does anybody have any questions about like PD in their districts, or how are you all doing PD in your districts? I'm kind of curious if anyone's doing any of that kind of work locally. Eric, thank you for that document. If you don't know who who Eric Kurtz is. He's a huge ed tech figure. It's all worth checking out his stuff, everybody. But
I've got a question. If you don't
yeah,
mind.
Derek, what's up?
I don't want to derail a mini of this. So
You can't derail. We just got together, what, 2 days ago, right?
Okay,
48
perfect.
hours.
All
So
right, all right.
can't derail.
And I control the website, so I'll wipe it. So Erica and I are from the same district, as I think she mentioned earlier, and we've done some PD around AI using a lot of the same documents. So the DOE doc that you referenced earlier, the big comprehensive one, Teach AI has been sort of their Google Doc version that sort of outlines the program, has been super helpful. And one of the things I've wrestled with and continue to wrestle with is like almost like metrics for success. So it can feel in past work and in past like change management, creating documents can feel like you're making progress. But I don't want the output of all of this work with the district and the person hours and the like intentions that are going into it to just lead to policies and communication documents and maybe a cool Google site that has some resources. But I want it to lead to breathing room for teachers and improved outcomes for students and things that are actually measurable. So yeah, don't know if you're going there or if you've had, I know it's kind of an unfair question like this early in the game, but I feel like whenever PD gets involved, it's like number of trainings delivered doesn't feel like the metric I'm after, or number of clicks on my YouTube video doesn't feel like the metric I'm after. So yeah, if you have any words on that or thoughts.
Yeah, we may have two different answers. So Jeff, do you want to go, and then I'll give mine. Again,
I'll jump.
Two cultures, right? Two cultures, so two different.
Yeah, and so that's just it, right? Like when you look at a document, right, and that's just it. It's like death by committee, right? So like you get this subcommittee, you get this document, you get this guidance, you get the framework, you get it all together, and then you present to a room of like maybe 7 superintendents who are interested, and then like each LEA kind of does their own thing anyway. So like what we're trying to do in our district, and again, like kind of echoes the title of the session here, is influencing up, is like in our district, we're like all in on like moving from compliance to agency, right? And by that I mean like there are boxes that have to get checked because we all exist in a bureaucratic system that includes like checking boxes, doing this, doing that, that you have to do. What we're trying to do is figure out, and AI is just one piece of that in our district. We're trying to figure out as a team of Department of Instruction, how can we empower our teachers in the classroom so that when they're interacting with kids, what they're doing checks that box, but that's not the primary objective. The primary objective is transforming and subverting the dominant paradigm, right? Like, and not to get too like radical and out there, like that's where my heart is. And that's what like we want to do. At the state level, I mean, our new evaluation framework is a radical departure, and I kind of like it a lot. It like when you look at the number of times teacher is referenced in that framework versus student, it's like a 4-to-1 for student to teacher. It's not looking at what the teacher's doing, it's looking at what students are doing. So our kickoff on this Wednesday is all focused on discourse in the classroom, kids, students, learners. Like you see, like the math specialist I referenced, he's actually running it. We're collaborating with him, one of our other tech specialists, on creating a video repository of best practice in our district, where it's like, hey, these kids can't. Yes, they can. Look, like we have 2 examples side by side in this presentation Wednesday. You don't know which is a setting C ILC class and which is an AP biology class because of the discourse the kids are having. That to me is where like we like whatever documents we're creating, the idea is that there's always a direct, bright, highlighted line back to the impact of what's happening in the classrooms. And AI is one way in which we can empower our kids to have a lot more opportunity for success. So like that's a bit of a long-winded all the way around answer to your question, Derek.
How dare you want to disrupt the educational process, man? No good. Back to old school. Sit them down in rows. No. So Derek, I'll kind of take a different approach. When you talk about metrics, so I'm a former social studies teacher, 10 years in the classroom doing all that work. And for me, I'm a big believer in like what's precious to people. And right now, when I ask my teachers and I'm like, what's important to you? Time, time, time. So if time is what teachers are asking for, then my metric is time. When I offer professional development on AI, I have hundreds of teachers that sign up, and I'll meet them when they want me to meet them. I ran one day of PD, that first initial PD day launch for AI. It's called it AI for Educators. And I was like, you've probably heard about it. If you want to come to the session, we're going to sign into AI and we're going to use it. And I offered a session before school. We have three tier system for school, by the way. So school starts at us at 7, 8, and 9 and ends at 2, 3, and 4. And so I offered sessions before school in the morning, and I offered 2 sessions after school, and I offered 1 in the evening, PD after dark, which if any of you will run PD, the PD after dark, probably because of the title, was super popular because a lot of people were like, I put my kid to bed and now like I can have time to think and process. So like I ran like a PD at like 9 o'clock at night, which is probably why I'm down in the basement, because I'm like yelling down here and my family's upstairs. But there, to answer your question, when we run trainings on AI, teachers give us time. They give us time. We pay them back almost nothing. Our EPA rate for professional development without kids present, non-impacting curriculum, love state terminology, is not much time and money. But people give us time and they sign up quick and they come. So same thing when we run those conference style PD days, and you got to go to one session that's mandated by the district or your curriculum specialist, and you have 2 to choose from. They go to teachers and then they go to AI. And those are the 2 sessions that they want to go to. They want to hear from their peers and they want to learn more about AI. So our metric right now, the one that we give back when they ask us, like, how do we know that this is being spent well? How do we know that your time is being used well in this? It's because hundreds of teachers show up when we offer it. And we get told a lot that people don't want professional development right now. I know that this conference is proving that wrong. Places like FETC are proving that wrong. But it's one of these things where we got to find people and things that they really find impactful. And the beauty of it too is it's not just teachers coming one time and being done. They're coming back. They're going to the next session. They're coming back for more. They're sending me stuff. I created this. I found time. I saved time. Things like that. So it's been really powerful in terms of just
to speak, sorry to cut you off, but to speak anecdotally to that, as soon as you said that, our district's HR, like head of HR, she like is a super stickler on, like, when I first showed our cabinet generative AI, ChatGPT, she's just like, yeah, that's it. The kids are done. That's it. And then like the next time I was presenting to cabinet, she was like, Jeff, I've been using ChatGPT. Oh my gosh, it's a game. And it's like, it's incredible. So like, yeah, huge ROI.
Yeah. And so, and that's kind of the big thing here. And like, and as our peers, Jeff and I are very lucky that we have close relationships with about a dozen of our peers in the 40 some districts that are in the state. There's about a dozen of us that are super active. And I will put my peer group up, that group in particular, against some of the best ed tech people in the country. They're just fabulous people to work with, Jeff included. And it's one of these things where they're getting the same return. They're getting people to give them time, to give them energy, to give them creativity and engagement. And that's something that a lot of us missed during COVID. The burnout was real. I mean, the disengagement was real. And this is something that's kind of breathed some life back into these things for us. And that's sort of what we're looking at here with a lot of this. And I'll kind of give a real quick, because I want to leave time if anybody has questions, but like this work that we're doing has led to what's called the generative AI subcommittee that Jeff and I are on with a couple other people who are in similar roles right now, as well as some hardcore, I call them hardcore, but the hardcore IT guys, like the people on the break fix, the IT side of things, information technologies of people as well. Jeff and I are both instructionally facing, like former teachers within the IT crew that supports that work as well. And one of the reasons for that subcommittee to exist, if you're not doing that work or you have access to it, but you're thinking about it, like if you don't get people in the room who believe in this and understand how it's impacting kids, the people that don't use AI, the people that don't interact with kids are going to make policies to impact you. They're gonna, like, the people with the least amount of knowledge have the biggest voice in this kind of ed tech space. So one of the goals was getting that generative AI committee together. Thank you, Maria. I see the clapping. Thank you. One of that goal was to get together peers. We are lucky that our representative at the state for ed tech, Dr. Alyssa Moore, is a fabulous human being, as well as being an expert in terms of ed tech, just a fabulous human. She allowed us to organize that group and is supporting us with time and space. And again, it was the right thing to do, because right now in the House bill in the state of Delaware is House Bill 333 or whatever it is, where they're going to form a generative AI subcommittee. And the positions they've got listed on there are people who don't work with kids, people who aren't in our schools, and people that don't know what AI is. And if that group gets steam before we can get a document in front of them, before we can get policy recommendations or encouragements in front of them, they're going to make some calls. And once they make the call, it'll be an unfunded mandate that we can't walk back. And they mean the best for kids, but at the same time, they need to have the best information policy in front of them. And that comes from working with teachers and working with kids and seeing what that is like in the daily grind. So it's something that work, if you have access to those kind of people, use them. And if you have access to peers in other districts to multiply your voice, use them. Some of the most powerful work I've done has been with people like Jeff, and my direct counterparts are fabulous too. They really are wonderful. And Jeff's are as well. But to Jeff's point, it's hard to kind of be a prophet in your own district when you bring in people from outside, when you bring in people from the other places. When I'm like, hey, we're going to bring in somebody from Indian River, and they're dealing with the same junk and the same questions that you all have. And like, here's Jeff. It helps, and vice versa. Like, I can provide insight to him too. And he's got, we both have different districts, but at the end of the day, we're helping kids in the state and we're trying to do our best by them. But that work right now with the generative AI subcommittee is forming. We're getting together policy in Delaware, and policy in Delaware is this recommendation. They very much believe in local control, which is why in a different universe, my district may have said, you don't say the word AI, and smash me down and given Jeff $10,000. It doesn't, there's no rhyme or reason to it because of the local control aspect. But that's some of the work we're doing there. If anybody's at that level and has questions about policy, we're more than happy to answer those questions. Jeff, we got like 9 minutes. So Ryan and Derek, you're both kind of the people that run the show here. So if there's anything that from our stuff that we kind of talked about, anything else that you want us to kind of talk about or ask, we can take questions. Derek, thank you for asking a question. We appreciate it. Also, thank you for organizing this.
No,
Ryan, thank you for the conference.
You guys, I'm ready to run my head through a wall for both of you. This is, I'm amped up on disrupting the paradigm right now. This has been phenomenal.
Thank you. But
yeah, I mean, it's tough too. Like we're not getting
it right every time. We're not getting it right every time.
Yeah, we're a little fired up about it, but like it's the right thing and the right reasons, and like to us, it's again, it comes back to like looking at your sphere of influence and then where are the avenues in which you can like try to jump up and grab some levers and like try to initiate change for the right reasons. Because like if people in our world and orbits are not like the rallying cry here, it's going to be people who feel that it's either in the best interest of their constituents or the kids and like shoehorning in ideological things that may or may not be in the actual best interest of kids. So like it's I mean, it's definitely a worthy cause. And like, again, we're all in this trying to ongoing disruptors meeting, please. Here for it. Follow me on the Twitter. I refuse to call it the other thing, but yeah, I'll drop that in the chat.
I've got another question, if that's all right. I don't want to dominate it with California. I know Laura's representing Wyoming well, so feel free to cut me off. But like just practically speaking, I like the conference style that you're talking about. In the sessions that you've designed and the PD that you've led, have you noticed teachers gravitate towards? I feel there's so many ways to do it. You can do it by like role. I'm a early ed, I'm an early L, upper L, secondary, whatever, by position. I don't know how you're thinking about classified staff, administrative teams, and so on. You can do it by content areas, right? Like math, language art, like what does literacy look like K-12? Yeah, if you could just put a couple words to that and like what you found people gravitating towards, what's been the most meaningful.
Yeah, I'll jump right in because this is literally, I'll share my screen and show you exactly what we do. So we meet like pretty frequently, I want to say monthly, as a Department of Instruction within our district. And what window am I sharing? Is it a spreadsheet up there? Yeah, sweet. Okay.
Yeah,
So
you're
really,
good, man. We're both on our home setups. The screen's
yeah.
wrong and everything.
Each of our like content area specialists basically knows their people the best, and then they offer them offerings, like whether those are led by, you know, lead teachers or the specialists themselves or outside experts. And then we just work on like tasks and deadlines. Like we have like I go into our state managed like professional learning like dashboard. I set up the course, I set up all the sections, assign rooms, and then we try to like, you know, we give people like on the March 6th day, we'll give them a spreadsheet that just has like the title, the course code for registration, and then they're on their own. And then we print out attendance sheets day of, and that's that. So like we've been doing that now since I've been in this role, which is coming up on 5 years, and like it's pretty well received. But again, I just wish we had more opportunities for it. So like yeah.
Sorry, is there any like, are you training the trainers in that aspect then and then releasing them? Or are these people going through any sort of like they're just interested in AI? Maybe they're a principal somewhere and
yeah, so what this is right now, like for my session, it's just interest driven, and like with a disclaimer and caveat that like the expectation is to help generate these guidelines, right? And so the people who are signing up are the ones who want to have that. I'm not trying to gatekeep any content areas. We've got a great blend of middle and high school as well as CTE folk. So like all core content areas are represented. So like I'm really happy that like we do have a wide like swath of staff putting those guidelines together. So yeah, that's that.
Yeah. So for us, we have when we kind of target PD, like Jeff, it's very similar how Jeff talked about setting it up. My district operates very much as two different districts, elementary and secondary. I'm one of a couple staff that float between that kind of support K through adult ed, and down to like our littles in the preschools. But so when I offer PD, I'm a big believer in like in kind of like that vertical articulation. Like I want people to know what's happening above and below them. I don't like restrict my PD. So like if I'm offering PD, I will let anybody come to it. I will sometimes tell them like, this is a tool that we're using only in secondary right now. But like, if you want to come and talk about assessment pedagogy theory, then like I'll nerd out and we'll talk. But with AI, I run it in teacher focus. And right now, because it's efficiency and time saving, I let anybody come to my sessions. As far as train the trainer on our conference style PD days, my responsibilities, both with ed tech in terms of support the initiative, but also grading, oftentimes actually during the day pull me away from the AI support. So in that case, I do have teachers who I work with to have them run AI sessions, because I do want AI to be present when we offer teacher sessions. It's also an opportunity for teachers to gain leadership. We have 3 different programs in the district right now for aspiring administrators in terms of like master's cohorts and those kind of internal leadership programs. So I work with those people who need hours, who need chances to get their voice and face in front of other buildings and other people a chance to run PD. And to be honest, the conference doesn't work unless they do. So I tend to work with people in that regard when they have selective time. So that's sort of, and right now that's more of a secondary. I'll be honest where my successes are. That's more secondary during the day. The elementary teachers love to come and talk, but they tend to not come. They tend to focus more conference or more PD time for elementary on content because we have a bunch of new curriculums there. So when elementary gets AI support, it's either with me or my peer at the PLC level or with their kids or after in PD when we can run it, which is after out of hours.
Got it. It's super helpful. We can really appreciate it.
But we find that like teachers sharing their voice, like where they're using things helps a ton, because we have that big mysticism where it's like, you know, you got to be able to do this in 6th grade, and the 5th grade team's like harping this thing that I've never seen a 6th grader do, and like, you know, vice versa. So like we do anywhere I can get teachers exposed to other grade levels, I will.
Yeah, your idea like really resonated. You're never a prophet in your own land. We're a really small district, so you know people get emails from like the same 4 people over and over and over, and
yeah,
it's probably pretty easy.
Yeah, and that speaks a bit to like what Laura mentioned in the chat too. Is like you get people who are gung ho in like September, October, and then by the time March rolls around for like leaders for facilitating PD in like March, you're like it's like pulling teeth. So you know it's hard, but I think again like the more streamlined you can make things for people and the more opportunities you give them, whether it's like, you know, Kevin and the ranges of offerings that they give, like before school, after dark, trying to make things accessible via socials, via live streams, stuff like that. The better.
I love the fact that Jeff like leaves that cookie there. The YouTube's there, PLCs can watch it and that kind of stuff. And it's that kind of thing that we're looking to do too. We're trying to get better about keeping our PD accessible to people. But Laura, yeah, the burnout's real on task force, especially for the classroom like level educators, especially if all the work occurs outside the day. Like it's really hard right now. So yeah, all right. We're kind of a small group, but that was awesome. I want to say thank you all to coming for this, Jeff, Jeff, awesome. Appreciate you, man. Jeff's the one who sent this to me being like, hey, you want to get in on this? And then Derek and Ryan took a risk on 2 randos from Delaware.
Yeah.
Very late in the process.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our emails are in the chat if y'all want to follow up for questions. We threw our X's in there, Twitter.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody. See you.